What's up, guys? I'm Nick, and today I've got my reaction to Disney betraying George Lucas, initial Joker reaction, and on top of that, some fresh news with Zendaya. So let's dive right in. George Lucas felt upset and betrayed when Disney wouldn't use his ideas for the new Star Wars trilogy. All of this outlined right now in Bob Iger's new book. If you don't know Bob Iger, he is the CEO of the Walt Disney Company. His memoir, The Ride of a Lifetime, Lessons Learned from 15 Years as the CEO of the Walt Disney Company. Here is what he mentions in his memoir. At some point in the process, George Lucas, told me that he had completed outlines for 3 new movies, episodes 7, 8, and 9. This was before Disney had purchased them. He had his outlines. He knew where they were going to go. George Lucas is the originator. He is the storyteller of Star Wars. He had a beginning, a middle, and end. Beginning with episode 4, 5, and 6. That's where his vision began. But then eventually creating episodes 1, 2, and 3. So the beginning of the entire Skywalker saga, episodes 1, 2, and 3. Then moving into 4, 5, and 6. Finally, after selling to Disney, they had the rights then to make 7, 8, and 9. So George agreed to send us 3 copies of the outlines. 1 for me and 2 for some Disney Studios creative officers and whatnot. When the executives and Bob Iger read George's outlines, they decided they needed to purchase them. Though we made clear in the purchase agreement that we would not contractually be obligated to adhere to the plot lines that he'd laid out. First of all, huge red flag. Second, he knew I was going to stand firm on the question of creative control, and so he reluctantly agreed to be available to consult with us at our request. I promised, and this is what you're seeing right now with George Lucas being brought in to consult with episode 9 as well as The Mandalorian, due to Disney losing a lot of faith in the fandom. Fans are the people that are purchasing your tickets, so you need to make a movie that the fans are going to like. They're going to purchase your tickets, then they're going to purchase your merchandise, then they're going to go to your theme parks if it's all done well. So, as promised, he would be available and open. This was not a hard promise to make. Of course, we would be open to George Lucas's ideas, but like the outlines, we would be under no contractual obligation. This is the second time that Bob Iger has laid out to George Lucas that he is not under any obligation to use George Lucas's ideas. Huge red flags. I mean, what Disney has done is they scrapped almost everything that George Lucas has laid out for them in their outlines. This is like somebody purchasing Harry Potter and scrapping everything that J.K. Rowling was going to do with it in lieu of their own, saying, well, we know better than the actual storyteller, the story creator. I don't think that that's the case, and I think the fans have really reacted negatively to where Disney had taken the films. They should have just stuck with George's initial outline. So then later, Lucas, Iger, and the screenwriter had met with Kathleen Kennedy at Skywalker Ranch to talk about their ideas for the film. Bob Iger goes on to say, George immediately got upset as they began to describe the plot. It dawned on him that they weren't using any of his stories that he submitted during their negotiations. So, rightfully so, George was extremely upset. But I think that where this differs in the public's reaction is that Bob Iger is really throwing all of this under the bus. And I think that where they could have come from a position of power, position of strength, they lost everything. They lost a lot of their credibility. And Bob Iger is really going into detail about putting out that fire, but it's not working. So right now, to be fair, I would say that Lucas was right. Disney at this point is wrong. They don't know where they're going with this, and they don't really have a clear direction. Moving on to what this means. What is the fallout? Well, Disney right now has canned their president, Catherine Powell, who's the parks director for Disneyland Paris, Walt Disney World, and Disney Anaheim. This is major news, especially because of the lackluster or sluggish attendance right now at most of the major theme parks. They were thinking that Disney's Galaxy Edge would be much bigger than it is. They even constructed a brand new transportation system called the Skyliner to get fans into the park, and there's nobody going. There's nobody there. They're saying that a lot of fans are waiting for the second ride to come. I don't think so. I think Star Wars is a niche. I think that it was a good idea for them to purchase. I thought that they would milk it, but unfortunately, they took the stories in the wrong direction, and the fans out there aren't buying it. And this is being seen throughout the company. So we'll see what other heads are gonna roll because of this. I wouldn't be surprised if Kathleen Kennedy is somewhere on the chopping block somewhere soon. Moving into The Joker. The Joker is a character film. It is on the villain of Batman, a character study on the villain of Batman. So the Joker, who we all realize and we all should note, and if we are a parent or an adult, to inform your children that this is a character study. This will be a tragedy. There are movie categories. There are horror movies. There are comedy movies. There are action movies. There's, where your Marvel movies are going to fall in. This is a tragedy. This is a film of the downfall of somebody morphing into a super villain, a very bad person. This is not an outline. However, as all parents, friends, teachers, everybody who is out there that has an influence needs to make sure that everybody goes into this being extremely clear that this is a tragedy and this is not something to emulate. Now, that being said, I think that the mass media is taking a lot of this out of context, where the Aurora shooting, if you don't remember that, that was during one of the Batman films that was released, that a psychopath, a nut, went into the theater and shot it up, killing a lot of people there. It's a very tragic story, especially for the kids that went to go see their hero in Batman losing their lives because of some psychotic psychopath. I realize that it is definitely Warner Brothers' obligation to put a public letter out. However, I don't believe that this particular movie is going to be a reason why someone should do terrible acts. There are a lot of really sick people out there. They need to get help. If you know any of these people, definitely get them help. Definitely be on their side, be encouraging on them getting help. But this is not a movie that I think is going to spark somebody going crazy and doing stupid acts. We all need to realize that it is just a movie. It is art. It is something that we should see and appreciate for what it is. It is a character study on a very bad person going to a very bad place. And I think we all realize that going in. Now moving into some happy news. At the Emmys, Zendaya had appeared to look absolutely gorgeous. Zendaya wore a Vera Wang dress inspired by the Batman villain Poison Ivy. I could definitely see her cast in this role. She looked absolutely beautiful while she was on the red carpet. If you remember, Julia Roberts originally played this character on screen. Poison Ivy would be a perfect character for her to play moving on from the MCU. This is a great DCEU character for her to be brought in to play, potentially starring against Robert Pattinson. There's no news that there has been nothing that has been made public in her being sought after, her going for any role. But if I were her publicist, if I were her marketing team, if I were her agent, I would definitely call up Warner Brothers and immediately pitch the idea of her being cast as Poison Ivy. She looks great. Definitely you can see the inspirations in her dress. And this would be a perfect casting choice for the DCEU, especially with Gal Gadot. If they could really bring her into the fold with Robert Pattinson, perfect casting choice. Warner Brothers, listen to me. Please cast Zendaya. This was Nick. Hit that subscribe button below. Give us a thumbs up and a like, and we'll see you next time. Bye.